Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibiers? Welcome to another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. I'm Gigi. It's Friday. We made it, y'all. It is time for the weekend. I'm ready for a little break, but we got part 5 to do. So I totally underestimated how much information would be needed to kind of get everybody ready for trial. And it's not going to be 50 something episodes, but we still have a few more to go. So we'll go into next week a little bit with this for those of you who need the refresher. All right, real quick, got to give a big thank you to Rebecca, Dragon Rudy, Lisa, someone from Twin Falls, Idaho, somebody who did not leave their name, Terry, and also to everybody who left super chats. Appreciate your support of the podcast. Music fact of the day. The Rolling Stones were so impressed with the backup singer's voice in Gimme Shelter that you can hear them hooting in the background, and they kept it in the studio recording as well. That's really awesome. Okay, I have to give a big congratulations to JJ and Ashley from Shorty's Smoking Butts Barbecue down there in Walterboro. They were voted Colleton's best barbecue and catering, and also kept me alive for 6 weeks on barbecue, mac and cheese, and the best cake I've ever tasted in my life while I was down there covering the Alec Murdaugh trial. In fact, the last day that I was there after sentencing, I stopped by their house. They invited me over and sent me home with over a dozen slices of this cake to bring home. And my family devoured it. These are two of the nicest humans you will ever meet. So if you are anywhere near Walterboro, it is totally worth the time to take a little exit off I-95 and get your belly full. So congrats to JJ and Ashley. Good people. All right, here's what we're going to do. Part 5. You know, I was thinking about Lori and Chad, and I totally believe that the little group that they did have that was very much into all this probably didn't have a place to call their own. And, you know, you think, how are they able to get people to do all this? It blows my mind. But Zulema said, according to Chad, he told her she was placed here on Earth to control the elements. And Chad would tell Zulema to practice controlling certain things in regards to the elements. She would then pray, and Chad and Lori would then tell her how successful she was afterwards. She added that Lori would also build her up and tell her about her capabilities. They even informed her that she was able to call up rainstorms and part rainstorms. She would simply say a prayer to ask for these things to happen, and then Lori and Chad would validate her abilities. It blows my mind people believe this stuff, but here we are several years later and 17 days to trial. If you look under my little picture there on YouTube, I'm going to start a little ticker. How many days until we hit trial? So we left off on part 4 after Charles and Lori have a very long, it's a day long, back and forth text fight, essentially. And we're going to pick up on the same day, June 29th of 2019. All of this is 2019 because I made a boo-boo the like 3 episodes ago where I got some dates mixed up. It was like 2002. I saw 2022. And anyway, so it's all 2019. So Charles emails Tammy Daybell. He says, Tammy, my name is Charles Vallow. I have some vital and disturbing information regarding your husband and my wife. This is your work email, so I'll wait to send you the evidence that is very disturbing. You may call or email me from the address where you can receive the information. I apologize to be the one sending this, but something has to be done. I feel it's best if I shed some light on the issue. Regards, Charles Vallow. Right after that, he emails Chad, and the subject was emails from Lori Vallow. It says, Chad, I'm Lori's husband, but I gather you already knew this. She sent an email yesterday, supposedly written by me, inviting you to Arizona next week to ghostwrite a book I'm supposedly working on. Is preposterous. I happened to run across it as she left her computer at our Houston home. I am not paying anybody for anything, and I'm not writing a book. Either you or Lori need to tell me what's going on, or this will be exposed for all to see. Regards, Charles Vallow. There was a second portion of the email. And does your wife know you have several of Lori's dance videos? Explain how that is in any way appropriate. She sent them to you at your request in January. Charles. Lori and Charles continue texting. I'm not going to get into all of it. It's a little repetitive, but a few things that were not repetitive to note. Charles says to Lori that lying has become second nature to her. You've been impressive in blaming me for all that's happened. You have destroyed me. I've never been lower in my life, and it's you that has done it. Please tell me why. Please. I will slow or minimize what's about to happen. It's you who has caused it. We have a son to raise, but that's all we have in common. He also mentions, in addition to their family and Melanie's and Brandon's marriage, now that is ruined, she's ruining the Daybell family. And he calls the three of them a home run, ruining those three families. And he calls her out on still going to the temple after she's doing all this stuff. So the same day, Charles emails Tammy again. The subject was your husband and my wife. The body read the body of that email continued and it said are having an affair. Her name is Lori Vallow. I've got definitive proof if you care to see it. Contact me and I'll share it with you. It's devastating, I know, but the truth needs to be shown. Charles Vallow. Now, we know there's no proof that Tammy read the emails. The school district said she either read and deleted them or just deleted them. There's no record of this email in her account. An investigator sent warrants to phone and email accounts for Tammy and Chad to see if there was any communication between Charles and Tammy. They searched records from June 28th through October 19th, which was the day she was murdered, and there were no calls between Tammy and Charles. There were no emails showing communications between Charles or Tammy or Chad. But, I kind of think maybe is it possible that Chad was kind of preemptively getting these emails before Tammy could? Because we know he sent them. It could have went in a spam folder, but Charles told Lori for hours he was going to do this. And I'm sure somehow Lori got word to Chad, hey, he knows he's going to contact your wife. That's kind of my theory, but we don't know for sure. Now, on the 29th, still on the 29th, Charles and Adam, which is Lori's brother, they continue to text. And he tells Adam he has contacted Tammy and says it should be real interesting when he talks to her on Monday. So that makes me think maybe he did get in contact with her and they might have made plans to talk on Monday. I'm not sure where, I don't know how they do school in Idaho. It's June 29th. I hear school is out, but you never know. He could have got her, and there were phone calls and text messages and that they were never able to retrieve in this case. So maybe he did. I hope he did. July 1st, Lori creates a new iCloud account, and Chad, remember that phone we talked about yesterday where he put the name as like Boyd Dial or something stupid like that? He actually activates that phone. This is actually later on the same number he will use to call the mortuary where Charles's body is after the murder. Lori names him Bubby in her contact list. So on July 1st, Lori texts Charles, what is your plan with JJ? Are you planning to fly with him tomorrow? Call me. Charles texts back, I'm going to Idaho first to meet with Tammy Daybell. Lori says, she won't see you. She is my friend. She won't listen to you. Go ahead. You are ridiculous. Are you coming to JJ for the 4th or not? Charles says, you're destroying people's lives. Had I known you were spending hours talking to Melanie's and poisoning her towards Brandon, I would have said something. You have had a serious disconnect. Otherwise, you'd send your lover Moroni to come zap me or put me in a pod, or you do me like you did Joe. I'm assuming he's talking about Joe Ryan because we know that she essentially destroyed Joe Ryan and Charles was around for all that. Now, one thing about the custody battle, which we did not get into, is that Charles supported Lori through that custody battle. But my position on that is this. When you're happily married to somebody and your spouse is saying, look, my ex-husband has abused my kids, they're in danger. I think any spouse would financially provide the means to fight that. Now, at this point, Charles knows she's full of it. And at some point in the argument, Lori calls Charles Joe Ryan. On July 2nd, Charles emails Lori's brother Adam. And in the email, he says Lori got new health insurance for him, JJ and Tylee, but not herself because she said she didn't need it. Adam responds that something dramatic needs to happen to her so she can see she's not Superwoman. Charles responds how sad he is that he's lost his wife that he loved and still loves more than life, but she's not the same Lori that they once knew. Now, in the email that Adam's now ex-wife sent to investigators a month after Charles's murder, she said Charles told Adam that he thought Lori and Alex would kill him. July 2nd, Zulema texts Lori that she was given instructions to rip, tear, or burn the aura of Iplos to let the energy out so the entity cannot re-enter. Also, Chad tells Zulema that her and Lori have done some amazing work and thanks her for the help with Iplos, saying he is so very close, meaning Charles. Melanie Gibb told investigators later that Chad would always find some excuse as to why these casting out sessions didn't work because Charles was still alive. So, that's probably how they roll. It's probably how they're still doing it. Like, we can't portal out because we're being persecuted and the world didn't end because we were put in jail, that kind of thing. Lori and Zulema also text back and forth, and Zulema said she was being attacked before she went to bed the night before, so she called her angels. Lori replies that they're mad the two of them are meeting that day at the temple, and Lori asks Zulema if she needs to do any work on her, meaning Lori was going to do some wackadoodle work. And at some point during that day, they go to the temple. That evening, Lori, Melanie Gibb, and some other woman do a podcast titled 24 Time to Warrior Up, Redeeming Our Entrance into His Presence. Now, that podcast is not online that I could find, but the description is, and I found it. It says, "It's Girls' Day Away. Although we love our guys, they were on assignment and let the girls take the mic. Let the joy of your journey converge with Melanie Gibb, Lori, and Kelly as they teach one of the most key elements of redemption. How are we redeemed literally? How does repentance take on a new hopeful view, even when we get stuck and bogged down in the mire of melancholy and muck? Here are some seasoned sisters in the world of wisdom for all of us to get a bit giddy about the gospel of good news." Also, the same day, Charles and Adam text where Charles theorizes maybe Chad and Tammy are the cult ringleaders. And Charles would end up not coming to Arizona the week of the 4th, by the way. Charles texts Lori saying that if she wanted a break, she could go to a hotel when he's in town that next Thursday. That's actually the day he's murdered. He said he would like to stay with and wake up with JJ. On July 6th, April Raymond, who is Lori's friend from Hawaii, said that's the last time she had any contact with Lori. On July 8th, Charles is in California for work, and he asked Lori to book him a room for his upcoming visit, which she does. And it was booked for July 10th through the 13th. Lori texts Zulema and asks, "Hey, can you call up an earthquake? Because Iplos is in California." Lori says, sadly, Iplos is safe, but they will continue to do work on him, and eventually the elements will obey. Brandon also files for divorce from Melanie's and asks for custody of all 4 of their kids. What's interesting is Melanie's continues to pay on Brandon's life insurance policy, and she is the sole beneficiary of that account. Zulema texts Lori, "I had to get home so I could go in my portal out there. I asked if we do that, the ramifications of things to come we are not ready for at this time. For what I understand is that when Iplos goes, things are going to be a domino effect, one thing after another. What do we need to do to be ready for all that is coming?" So July 9th. Oh, by the way, I had a few inboxes of people asking me, is Zulema or Melanie Gibb facing charges? As of now, no. Zulema, from what we gather, maybe has some partial immunity in this case. And unfortunately, like I said yesterday, fake powers you think you have and trying to kill somebody with that isn't a crime. It should be in this case, though. July 9th. This is the day investigators say Lori learned of the intervention, which I think coupled along with Chad and Tammy both being emailed and contacted by Charles about the affair. This really sealed the deal, unfortunately, for Charles. So in the document dump we got 2 different document dumps, by the way. So we got Chandler document dump, which dealt with Charles's murder. So once charges were filed, they released a lot of documents. Some things were redacted, but there were some things regarding this case that's going to trial in 17 days, as well as Gilbert, which comes in later when Melanie's ex-husband Brandon is shot at by Alex. Luckily, he missed. But it said that Lori learned about it from Chad in the document dump due to communication between Charles and Tammy. But the indictment actually says that Lori found out from her mom, Janice, and her sister, Summer. So Charles and Adam make plans for Adam to come to Arizona, and they're just going to have this intervention or confront Lori about all this stuff. And now it's time for a word for our sponsor of the week, Lomi by Pila. Look, I've never been able to compost before. It's always too complicated, too much work, and it's too stinky. Then I got a Lomi. Lomi allows me to turn my food scraps into dirt with the push of a button. It's a countertop electric composter that turns scraps into dirt in under 4 hours. There's no smell when it runs, and it's really quiet. Thanks to Lomi, I have way less garbage each week, down from 4 bags to 2, by the way, and I feel great knowing I'm composting and creating soil instead of waste. I've basically a limitless supply of dirt for my garden. So what can you put in Lomi? Food leftovers, fruits and vegetables, eggs and eggshells, grains, coffee grounds, yard trimmings, houseplants, and more. If you want to start making a positive environmental impact or just make cleanup after dinner that much easier, Lomi is perfect for you. Head to lomi.com/whattheworld and use the promo code whattheworld to get your $50 off your Lomi. That's $50 off when you head to lomi.com/whattheworld and use promo code whattheworld at checkout. Food waste is gross. Let Lomi save you a cold trip out to the garbage can. They talk about Adam maybe keeping his phone on record because they would need proof for the church official to revoke her temple recommend. But Charles thought Lori would just leave, but he said it's worth a try. And then the same day, Lori sends Alex the address to the new house that Charles is renting for Lori to stay in. At 6:18 p.m., and this is on July the 9th, Melanie Gibb sends Lori a text asking if she was home and said she wanted to come over. 2 minutes later, Lori responds, "All my family and the kids are here, so it's chaos right now." Melanie Gibb responds, "Okay, let me know when." Now at 7:06, Chad calls Lori and they talk for an hour and 8 minutes. While she's on the phone with Chad, she's communicating with other people. At 7:21 p.m., Lori texts Melanie saying she needed to talk to her ASAP and would call her in 5 minutes as she was finding out what to do. By the way, Chad was not charged in any way in the murder of Charles Vallow. They said they just did not have enough evidence for a successful prosecution. Melanie calls Lori, but Lori was on the phone with Chad. Investigators note, based on the text messages, it was their opinion that Melanie was aware of what was going to take place, allegedly. At 7:23, Gibb texts Lori, "Are they there still?" Because Gibb's just kind of hanging in the wings. The reason Melanie Gibb is texting her is because at this point, Melanie Gibb is going through a divorce with her husband, and Lori invited her to come spend the night way before she probably realized that it was going to hit the fan big time. At 7:45, Chad does a Google search in his quote, "when you surprise someone with accusations." Then at 7:50, Charles texts Lori, "Did our boy do okay today?" Lori did not respond to that text. At 7:55, here comes Melanie Gibb again. "I'm waiting at your house, so let me know when you're ready for me to come in." At 8 o'clock, Lori texts Melanie, who was supposed to travel out of town for a wedding, by the way. "You can't go tomorrow. It's a setup for both of us." Still on the phone finding out the details. They have an elaborate plan. "I'll call you soon." So at 8:03, Lori finally texts Melanie Gibb back and says, "I'm in the backyard on an important call. You can come back here quietly." At 8:05, Melanie texts Lori, "I could take all the babies with and drive and take our stuff." Then at 8:06, Lori responds back, "You can't go at all. We both need to stay here to defend ourselves." 1 minute later, Lori texts her again saying, "It's coming to a head. This week will change everything." And boy, did it. At 8:08, Melanice responds, "That's probably why I felt sick about going, even when I was told to plan to go." At 8:14, Lori texts Melanice to call her. 8:15, the call between Lori and Chad is over. It ends. Investigators note while she was talking to Chad during this time, there were also several SMS messages between the two of them, but the content was not on the iCloud records, but the record on the phone records showed that they did exchange some SMS messages. From 8:15 to 8:30 p.m., Lori and Melanice talk on the phone. And when the phone call ends, Lori texts Melanice and tells her to keep Melanice and Brandon's daughter away from Brandon. We don't know why at this point. At 9:03, Lori texts Alex, "So the plot thickens. Call me when you can." From 9:03 to 9:50, Lori exchanged texts with Melanice, Alex, and Chad. Investigators were not able to retrieve the messages between Lori and Chad. 9:16 p.m., Lori texts Melanice, "They are gathering witnesses. It's just like Twilight." You know, the movie where vampires sparkle. They are the Vulture. I don't know the reference, but I've seen it, the movies, it's been like a hot minute ago. 9:39 p.m., after not getting a response from Lori when he asked how JJ did that day, he texts a bunch of question marks to her. At 9:50 p.m., Lori texts Alex, "Getting sleepy, so I'm going to need you to stay close to me the next couple of days." Melanice, too. She can't go to Utah. They are planning some kind of intervention, but want Melanice out of the way, so I'm left alone. "I need to come get the stuff at your house tomorrow and secure it." Don't know what that means. "Lots to do. Thank you for standing by me. It's all coming to a head this week. I will be like Nephi, I am told, and so will you." 9:56 p.m., Alex calls Lori and they talk for 56 minutes. 10:27 p.m., Charles texts Lori to ask if she spent $196 at a Walmart grocery in Provo, Utah the day before. Lori doesn't respond until the next morning and says no, she spent $49 getting lamps on Walmart.com. So the document dump says 2 days before the murder, Lori's sister Summer offered to run interference for Lori and keep her updated on where Adam was when he got into town. Lori said she was trying to figure it out. Summer comments, quote, "I will kill him myself if that's the case," end quote. Lori says, "No, I need you safe." Melanie Gibb spends the night with Lori. So she does get to spend the night. Gibb told investigators that, she was in the process of divorcing. But man, I bet Lori was like, "Dang it, man. All right, fine. Yeah, you can stay." July 10th, Lori wakes up and she's like, "Gibb, you got to get out." She says Charles was coming into town and was going to kill her. Melanie Gibb was like, "Why would you think that?" And Lori said Adam, Brandon, and Lori's own father were going to kill her for a $3 million life insurance policy. She said they're all dark spirits and wanted her money. Now, her son, Colby, told investigators pretty much the same story when talking to investigators. He also names someone named Edgar that Lori had told him. So Charles arrives in Arizona and he texts Lori just to confirm the hotel room is booked and paid for. She says yes, and he responds, "Thanks. I'll see him tomorrow." Speaking of JJ, "I'll take him to school and pick him up Friday too. Thanks." So also, we know Charles flies Lori's brother Adam to Arizona to help with the intervention. He texts Adam and says he's uneasy about how Lori will respond to the both of them. And I believe it's Zach, it's redacted, but Adam's son, Zach, and Brandon. Charles says he will pick up JJ and take him to school on Thursday, which is the day he's murdered. And he says Lori will be there and he would do the same with JJ on Friday. He says Lori might be suspicious that they're recording her. So Charles tells Adam, maybe you should just put your phone on the counter where she can see it and power it off and just bring a second device to record her. He says he feels Lori is too far gone, but he wants to save other families from the same fate as his. And he says he loves Lori more than life, but the Lori they knew is gone and he fears forever. Charles texts Lori to say he would arrive around 7:30 a.m. to pick JJ up and get him to school. He also texts his landlord saying that he needs to find a place to live because obviously things aren't working out with Lori. They make plans to meet up that next morning. Chad calls Lori at 9:50 a.m. and they talk for almost 2.5 hours. At 10:25 a.m., while on the phone with Chad, Lori texts Melanice, "I think so, but they are moving their plans to tomorrow since they will still try to get rid of you." Melanice replied, "I wish there was a way to somehow be at the wedding, but I know this is more important." Lori says, "I know, baby. I'm so sorry. This is important to your mission, even though I know it's hard to just sit there." So Lori, Melanice, and Alex have lunch together. Lori and Alex later go to their sister Summer's house. I believe there was an arrangement with Adam's son, Zach, that he was going to house sit for Summer. She was taking a trip to New York City. She was actually in New York City when all this went down. But texts between Lori and her sister Summer indicate Summer knew about the intervention and was providing Lori with information about Alex or Adam once he was in Phoenix. This is still the 10th, the day before. 3:58. Lori texts her sister Summer to say she's on her way to Alex's house. 7:18 p.m. Lori texts Melanice and she tells her Alex is there and Charles will be coming over in the morning. We're not going to get into the specifics of Charles's murder on this episode. That's going to be a little bit more involved because what we're going to do is go through what happens on scene. And then I have the discrepancies done between the police station interviews between Alex, Lori, and Tylee. And there are some big discrepancies that were totally missed. I don't understand why these investigators did not bring them back like a week later. Sometimes they'll do that if they don't have enough probable cause at the moment. Although there was probable cause, there was a downward strike on that floor where Alex said, "I never shot him I shot him twice while he was standing." But then when they moved Charles's body, they found a defect in the floor. He shot him while he was down. Just a lot of missed opportunities to prevent a lot of this. And it's sad that Charles would have been a victim at all, but maybe he would have been the only victim. Anyway, so we're going to jump real quick, just leading up to it, July 11th, 2019, the day Charles Vallow is murdered. Chad texts Lori at 6:06 a.m. Lori texts Chad at 6:12, 7:01, and 7:33 a.m. None of these messages were able to be retrieved by investigators. Now, Charles tells a hotel employee that he will be returning with JJ to have breakfast. He's leaving the hotel to go pick him up. At 7:10 a.m., Charles leaves the hotel. It's approximately a 20-minute drive from the hotel to that new house Lori is staying at. We know at 7:32, based on cell phone information, Charles is near the house. At 7:35 a.m., Charles texts Adam just before he goes inside the house where he would be killed. Charles says, "Al is here." Adam says, "At Lori's?" And Adam says, "Really? I wonder why he never called me back. They are planning something." Charles says, "Absolutely." Adam says, "I was supposed to spend the night at his house last night. She probably blocked that." Charles responds, "What you do is up to you." At 7:37, Adam responds, "I'm going to put the pressure to have him come get me right now. See what he says." So at 7:49, Adam sends a message to Charles that would not be read until 12:13 p.m. when Lori has Charles's cell phone, and it says, "Me and Zach are going to the Stake Center tonight at 8 to play basketball." And I think either the stake president or one of the bishops is always there, either playing ball or interviewing people. I will try to catch him to have a conversation with my old friend. Remember, they're wanting to get that temple recommend revoked as kind of a wake-up call to Lori. So at this point, Charles goes in the house. And we will go through everything we know in a very condensed version of the day Charles was murdered. But this is really when things kind of hit hyperspeed in this case. And we are at July 11th. By 3 months and a week later, 4 people, these 4 right up here, will be dead at the hands of Chad, Lori, Alex Cox. So Appreciate you guys. I appreciate the positive response to this. I say it's a crash course. It's never a crash course with this case. It is a lot. But, a lot of people don't know a lot about this case and are interested to follow it, even though it won't be streamed. Again, I'll be doing updates every single night live to let you know what happened that day. So you will know what happened daily in that courtroom. I will be there in Boise covering it and then doing the podcast as normal. So we're leading up to it and may put out an update episode over the weekend on a couple of things of some new cases. It'll be pretty short. But anyways, hope you guys have a good weekend and we will see you soon.